All right, cool. So we're gonna get started. Lots of wins, lots of pushing out of our comfort zone. And today, what we want to focus on is how can we meal prep. We are going to talk meal prep methods. The past couple of lessons have been all more so mindset, right? So now let's get into the more tactical part of this journey. All right, so let me share my screen. Cool. If you can see my screen, hit me with a number 1 in the chat. If you can see my screen, perfect. Cool. Perfect. Okay, so we're talking meal prep methods today. And I structured it because one thing that I've noticed is we all, not only you guys, but just in general, even myself, we tend to overcomplicate things and we tend to think that there's a one size fit all for things. So the biggest thing for today is knowing that this meal prepping is not a one size fit all, and it doesn't have to be your classic, like this, it can be, but it doesn't have to be like, okay, I have a million Tupperwares with all of my meals set out on my kitchen counter because that's what I saw on Instagram. Right. And then another thing, the biggest reason that we meal prep and something that can drive you, because I used to be like kind of resistant of this, like it was like too much work, or like I wanted my food fresh or things like this. Biggest thing of meal prepping is just making your life easier, is thinking about you tomorrow, is thinking about you this week. So how can you make your life easier, your future you? How can we make your life easier? All right, so let's get into it. You've heard me say this before. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Planning is everything. Planning your schedule for workouts, planning your meals, planning your job, like anything in your life. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And you also plan to get overwhelmed because that means something came up and you're not ready for it, right? Making sure planning is the number one. So we're going to talk all things planning when it comes to tracking, when it comes to food. All right. So before we get started, I just want to touch on 3 things. If at any point you have any questions throughout this, as you guys know, put in the chat, it should pop up, or unmute yourself is usually the easiest. All right. So before we get started, 3 things. Number 1 is we all live different lives. Right. So most importantly with this is you have to find what works for you. What works for me doesn't work for the next person. What works for me that has a, stay at home kind of job doesn't work for somebody that is traveling to work every day, right? Everybody is different. You have to think of what works for you and what you actually enjoy, and most importantly, what works for your schedule. And I want to put a big emphasis on the word find. Find. It's trial and error. So it doesn't mean right now you're going to try a method and it's just going to work so perfectly, right? You might try a method and it might not work, and we might try something else, but that doesn't really mean that we just stop trying. It's more so understanding of like, okay, what works best for me and how can I continue to try out new methods, try new different things, and also adjust my schedule as things go. All right. Number 2, make sure that you have enough containers. So with this, obviously, this is something that you need. So containers, even like you can get reusable Ziploc bags, you need them in different sizes. If you don't have them already, get them tonight, order on Amazon. So write that down. If you don't have them already, get them, order them wherever, stop at your local ShopRite, Stop Shop, whatever you have next to you. Just make sure that you have enough containers, because if not, you're not going to be able to meal prep. And number 3, with this as well, is we need to make sure that we dedicate and schedule days. Get a routine. So identify what is going to be the day for actually planning out what you're going to eat. Right. This can look different as well for a lot of people. A lot of us are creatures of habits. So we eat the same for like breakfast all the time, or, we'll kind of have repetitive meals. That's fine. But just make sure, what day am I actually planning out my meals? So you could put literally on a piece of paper Monday through Friday or Sunday to Saturday, and you could write down, this is what I'm having for dinner on this particular day. All right. From there, then you can go into actually shopping for my ingredients. But when are you going to the grocery store? That's something that you can get as a routine, and it should be a routine. For example, for me, Wednesdays, the farmer's truck comes, I always get my vegetables, right? On Fridays, I go to the grocery store. So that's kind of a routine that happens every single week. And if you don't have that already, make sure that you get that right away. And number three, when are you actually going to do the cooking? So this part is actually going to depend also on which of the 5 styles of meal prep you decide to choose, but this has to be scheduled in. Just like you schedule your workouts, you need to schedule in when you eat. So 5 methods to meal prep. Okay. Let's get in. Linda, I think you're, I'm gonna actually mute you. Okay, perfect. Gotcha. All right, so 5 methods to meal prep. Number 1, all right, cooking for the whole week, right? This can be for every meal. So you've seen it, it's been on social media. You see somebody's counter, they have breakfast, lunch, dinner, they have so many Tupperwares like planned out. If this is you, great. Another thing is this can just be one meal of the day. So this is, and throughout this, because I've switched and gone back through different methods of meal prep. I'll kind of share my story for each one. But something that I've done is like I've just meal prepped my lunch because and I still do that now. I just meal prep my lunch because that's my busiest time of the day. So if you are cooking for the full week, that is awesome. You can prep your full, like every single meal, or that can just be prepping your lunch for the entire week. So that is number 1. All right. By the way, you can also do this with your smoothies and oat bowls. So I personally have a smoothie, just put it in a container and just kind of prep it out, leave it in the freezer. So whenever you're going to actually make it, put it in the blender, you just take it out, boom, and it takes 2 seconds. All right. So 5 minutes that it takes you at the beginning of the week can save you a lot of time of always taking out the ingredients every single day. Number 2, this is going to be another option. Again, I want you to really consider here, what is the method that is going to work best for me? We're not talking certain ingredients. It's the meal prep method of actually cooking the food. Number 2 is going to be cooking 3 days out. All right. So this is best if you want your food a little bit more fresh. That's something that a lot of people, some people just like, for example, my mom, she hates reheated food. She can have it the next day, but like after that, she just can't. I personally don't care, but if this is you, right, you want more of like fresh food, you want to cook Sunday and then you want to cook Wednesday, that's great, but we need to actually define that. And most importantly, if you have time. Obviously, if you don't have time midweek to cook another 3 days worth of food, then this isn't going to apply for you. But we need to ask yourself here if this is a method that I think this can work for me, right? I can cook 3 days and it'll make my days a lot easier. What are the 2 days that you're gonna cook? Is it gonna be Sunday and Wednesday? Is it gonna be Saturday and Tuesday, or also Wednesday? Whatever it is for you, you just need to define it, and we need to make sure that it is structured. Okay. Number 3, this is personally one of my favorites. I do this all the time, is cooking in bulk. So I always have vegetables on deck because vegetables take forever to cook. So I usually make like a bulk of like sauteed vegetables, and then whatever bowl that I make, whatever sandwich that I make, whatever anything that I make, I just scoop it out of the thing and then I put it on my plate, and then boom, just got my vegetables for the day. You can also do this like, for example, I'll say tofu, right? I know Maria on here, she just cooks like 3 blocks of tofu on Sunday, puts them all in the oven, and then during the week, she just weighs them out and just takes from there. So not necessarily meal prepping each meal, but she and even myself, we cook vegetables, some rice, some potatoes, some tofu. So you can kind of go about your day. You can kind of go about your week a little bit more flexible, but it is just having things there. Vegetables, I personally think, are super key because I personally don't like to cook my vegetables every day because they take forever. Now, an option for this, because this is a roadblock that a lot of people will run into, is wanting fresh protein. So this is more for like the meat eaters. If your chicken just gets dry, or you have salmon and you're like, oh, but Nicole, I don't want to cook for the whole week, but because it's so dry, you can cook the rest of your meal and prep that out, but your actual protein, just have it ready in mind to get cooked. So when I personally was eating meat, I would do that like my rice, my vegetables, or my potatoes, my mashed potatoes, whatever I was cooking was all in meal prep. But when it came to my protein, I would just take it out of the freezer and make sure obviously it's defrosted and just cook it on the spot. So there, I'm only taking like those 10-15 minutes to actually cook the protein, but everything else, the vegetables, the rice, the whatever I was having, you guys know I have rice all the time, so I'll always use that example, but that stuff was always prepped for me, right? So this can be an option for you as well. Cooking in bulk, just to make your life easier. And if you choose to make the protein on the day of in the minute, that's fine. Just make sure that you make the time for that and you know that's the method that you're picking. Number 4, I'm going through these quick today, is cooking double for tomorrow. Another method that I've done so many times. All right. So this way, okay, I actually was just on a call with Carly like 15 minutes ago, and she was just saying like I can cook Sunday for Sunday and Monday, and then I could cook Tuesday for Tuesday and Wednesday, right? That is also a great method that you can do in order to make your life easier. So whatever you're having for dinner today, just make double for tomorrow. So this way, yeah, today I'm putting a little bit more effort, but tomorrow I'm going to have a little bit more time, right? And then maybe tomorrow I'll have other tasks to do. Or sometimes, and I don't know if you guys have these, we just have busier days. Like my Tuesdays, obviously I have this call, so they're much busier. So these are the days that, like yesterday, I have everything ready and then I just prepare it real quick for today. So that's method number 4 that can really, really work for you. And we're going to go through this again. And number 5 is outsourcing. Outsourcing your meal prep. Outsourcing your meal prep is a great idea. There's different options. I put 2 here. So you can do something like a HelloFresh. There's so many companies that do this, but this is just the one that I know the name of. They will send you a box of like every ingredient that you need for a meal. I really, really like this because I think it teaches you how to cook a little bit more. And it's simple. You don't have to worry about going to the grocery store. You don't have to worry about thinking of what you're going to eat. They send it to you. They even have healthy options where you can choose like your calorie intake, higher protein or like lower carbs, things like that. Another option is actual meal prep companies. So this is actually one that my brother gets. It's called Factor. Depending on where you live, there's some that, ship wherever. I'm pretty sure Factor. My brother literally gets a massive box and all of his meal preps are in there. But there's also local ones. Like I used to get from one that was like 20 minutes away from me. They don't ship too far, but they will ship to my house. So that can be another option for you. And with this, again, we don't have to think of, okay, I'm buying meal prep for every single one of my meals, but no, can I buy just my lunch for the meal? So if you're not somebody that wants to cook and you're not somebody that wants to actually put the effort into buying the groceries, making the food, scheduling that out, that's fine. This is another option for you, right? So buy in bulk, buy some meal preps. You won't have to put that effort in and you just cross something off of your list. All right. Now, a couple bonus thoughts and something that I want you to consider. I am big on like when we do this call, obviously we all live different lives. So I am more concerned on every call, how can I find something that I can implement into my life? It just has to be one action point that you take from today that you implement. If you step away from this call and you still take 0 action, then we are not progressing. So from this, we need to be able to progress. Now, with this, some of you might be thinking like, which one works for me? Should I do the 7 days? Should I do the 3 days? Should I do the day before? Like maybe that meal prep, like what should I do? And it's kind of like, okay, I have to pick one. But another thing is you can mix some of these styles, right? So I'll even give myself as an example. I don't mind cooking my breakfast every day. I have the time in the morning after the gym. So that's something that I just make really, really quickly. I have the same thing every single day and like very minimal changes that I make. My lunch is always meal prepped out. So those are ready. I don't even have time to breathe during lunch. I just walk out, prepare it real quick, grab it, heat it up. Very, very simple. So that's using a different method that's prepped out. And then for my dinner, either I'm cooking on the the day of, because now I'm in a cooking stage, or I'm cooking for the next day. So even in there, I just mix 3 different styles of meal prep for just my breakfast, my lunch, and my dinner. So that's something that I want you to consider too. It's not like I have to pick one method and this is my only thing that I have to do. Now, I want to go over a couple of roadblocks that you might run into, or maybe that you have been feeling now, when it comes to kind of having a schedule with the meal prep. Number 1 is home. I run into this a lot with a lot of you. My partner is not helping me, or somebody's eating the food in my house, or like my mom cooks for me for dinner. It's hard to plan that out. Number 1 is your communication. This is huge, right? Plan this out with your partner, with your mom, whatever the case may be. They need to be on the same page with you. When I lived with my mom, and if anybody does, it can be so simple as, hey mom, what are you making for dinner tomorrow? That's it. And that helps you mentally prepare for, like, how can you plan around that with your partner as well. Hey, what are we going to cook? What is the system? When do you cook? When do I cook? Who cooks, who does the dishes, whatever that system is, we need to have a type of communication at home. And because I know this is a thing, if you are not so comfortable with the concept of communication, right? If this is pushing out of your comfort zone a little bit, this is boundaries. And again, April is pushing out of your comfort zone. So it's a perfect time to start doing this. How can I communicate and be a communicator of my needs in order to make this a more successful process? Number 2 is setting boundaries, right? I have run into the situation where I meal prep this and somebody eats it, or somebody took that, or whatever the case may be, or maybe they're judging you. Setting boundaries. You are a woman that sets boundaries. We've said this so many times before. You set boundaries at work. You set boundaries when it comes to your friends. You set boundaries when it comes to your schedules. You set boundaries in every single aspect of your life. So if you run into the situation, hey, they are, eating my food, even though like I had it prepped out for me, I need to set that boundary to make sure that that is not happening. If somebody is constantly saying things about the way that I meal prep, or the style that I want to do, or maybe the scheduling that I have, you have to set that boundary to make sure that the person or whoever you're with is understanding your goals and your needs. And the last thing with this is explaining your goals. When it comes to tracking your calories, when it comes to doing a process like this is something that can be difficult for the people around you. If you have a partner that likes to go out to eat, or you have a partner that wants to have certain things, or wants to live a more flexible, or wants more time out of you, right? You have to talk to them about your goals, even friends, right? This kind of started it for me. Like when I started meal prepping and my friends thought I was like, like it was just too much. Like, explain to them that this is the lifestyle you live. You don't have to explain to them everything, but hey, this is the life that I want to live. This is the things that I am doing. And I would appreciate if you just kind of worked with me on this. You can do whatever you want, because realistically they can. All right. So communication at home is going to be one of the biggest roadblocks, but we set boundaries and we step out of our comfort zones to have those difficult conversations. Number 2, another roadblock. You are being selfish to your future self if you do not prepare this. She needs you a lot more. How many of you gotta raise your hand, you put in the chat, how many of you have like had a busy day, you kind of know a busy day was coming, but you didn't prepare for it? So like the next day that busy day comes and you're like, oh fuck, what am I gonna eat? I have to run to like Starbucks and get this, I have to do this. Like you knew that this was coming, but you still didn't help your future self, and then you're pissed that you're stressed, right? So we need to be more proactive on the front end, right? Be more kind. Even if you get home tonight, damn it, I am so tired. I'm so tired. I don't really feel like meal prepping. It's not about you right now. It is about you tomorrow. That has to go to work, that has a meeting, that has to drive to this place, that has to go to the gym. It's not about how tired you are right now, or you just kind of wanting to chill, or you wanted to hang out on Sundays and that's your meal prep. It's not about you right now. You have to think, how can I make my life easier tomorrow or this week. This is supposed to be say number 4. My many mistakes that I make on these. Number 4, schedule changes. Schedule changes and we go into mayhem. Oh my God, all the time. I get all the time, Nicole, schedule change at work, or I'm taking on this, that, like last minute, I got a meeting, car broke down, schedule changes, and holy shit, it just like blows out of proportion. All right, so when this happens, with this and with any area of your life, I want you to frame yourself and know that you are a problem solver. When a lot of like even any aspect, like you fall off track, you're struggling, you're overwhelmed, you guys come to me and you're like, this is happening, my car broke down, like I had to, I don't know, take my sister to work because her car broke down. Like literally all things happen. And what do? We narrow it down to how can we solve this problem. So I want you to know and feel and walk with the energy of I am a problem solver. I don't sit in a pity party because my schedule changed. It's like, okay, schedule changed. Fuck. Okay, now what? So most importantly, if you run into that roadblock, you had everything planned out, your meals prepped, you were supposed to cook, whatever the case may be, breathe, adjust your plan, and move forward. Don't get overwhelmed in every single thing that is happening, that cloud above you that seems like you have so much to do. Breathe, adjust your plan, and move forward. So look at your calendar. Okay, I have to move my meal prep to this day, or I have to do this, whatever it is. Breathe, adjust your plan, and move forward. You are a problem solver. And with schedule changes as well, if you know your days kind of vary, make sure that you're planning for that as well. So for example, myself, Tuesdays are absolutely insane for me. So I know that in advance, Mondays, I make sure that I make Tuesday Nicole, just make her life a little bit easier. Right? Wednesdays, I have a little more flexibility, so I'm able to prep for Thursday. That would be a little bit busier. So if you know your days vary, again, try to find that style, but make sure that you're kind of understanding yourself and you're creating structure for yourself to make your life a little bit easier. Number 4. Oh, wait, is this 5? Oh, no, it wasn't supposed to say 3. Sorry, I had to look at that. Number 4, when something goes wrong, another roadblock. Things go wrong. You try to set up a meal prep system. You try to do the schedule. You try to, I don't know, do the 3 days of cooking or cook the day before. Like you tried one of these methods and you just did terrible at it. It didn't work. You got really overwhelmed. So you didn't like that method, right? Maybe it didn't go as planned. That's okay. Error just means that you found something that you don't like. I've tried meal prepping all 7 days. I hate it. I can't prep out my breakfast, lunch, dinner all 7 days. I don't like it. It's not fun for me. I like cooking on the day-to-day. It gives me a little bit of clarity, right? Error just means that you found something you don't like. So if you try one of these methods, don't really love it, that's okay. Kind of think of it as like, even like your dating life. If you dated somebody and it didn't go so well, you're not gonna be like, okay, that's it. I'm never gonna date somebody ever again. Like I'm just gonna live by myself forever and I'm never gonna have any relationships. You're gonna be like, okay, I didn't really like that thing about that person. And now I know that in the next person, I want somebody that does this. Right? That person didn't communicate with me. So now I want somebody who communicates a little bit better. Oof. Yes. So error, trial and error. Trial and error is a great thing. You guys are just starting, even if you've been on this process for 6 months or a year, like you are just starting this process, and trial and error is huge. Embrace it. I have messed up and failed and all like million different aspects. It still happens, but trial and error is how you find what you don't like. I'm actually in a mission of trial and error right now with my vitamins because I'm so bad at taking them. So I try different methods, and the one that I have right now is kind of sticking. Now, everybody must do this. I do not care what method that you choose. I don't care how you schedule out your week. I don't care if you cook every single meal the day before or the second before because that works for you. Don't care. Everybody must do this. All right, so at night, you're getting ready to go to sleep. Never go to sleep without planning tomorrow's meals. That has to be a thing. Your tomorrow self needs to know what she's going to eat. I am sure at some point you were so hungry and you were like, you got home, you weren't prepped, you looked at your fridge, you're like, what am I going to eat? You start snacking on things, or you go to the local like restaurant, you buy some fast food. Like, when you don't plan this out, you are just making decisions. You are creating decision fatigue for the next day. If any of you, I don't know, you guys can raise your hand. Do you ever plan out your outfit for the next day? Doesn't it make your life so much easier? Like, you just have everything ready. Or if you have a day planned for the next day and you pack your bag, right? Because in the morning, it's one less thing that you have to do. It's one less thing that you have to think about. The same thing is going to come for here. So never go to sleep without planning tomorrow's meals. You have to eat anyways. And if you don't plan it out, you're going to make decisions that you really don't want to make if you haven't gotten this structure yet. Or you're going to skip a meal, which you really, really don't want to do. Now, that goes down to if you plan to fail, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, I want to tie this all in to the macro side of things when we are tracking. Because if you are playing macro Tetris, if you are sitting and you have your meal in front of you and you're playing on MyFitnessPal and you're trying to plug in your things, or if you're eating a meal right now thinking like, what am I going to eat later? Is this going to fit my calories? That is macro Tetris. It creates stress. It creates a negative relationship with tracking and your food, and it causes hunger and cravings, and because all you're ever thinking about is food. So in order to avoid this, we're doing the same exact thing as if you took a piece of paper and you wrote down like, tomorrow I'm going to have eggs for breakfast, and then I'm going to have my sandwich for lunch, I'm a salad for dinner, I'm going to have this. Same thing that you're doing when you're writing it down and kind of planning out, what am I going to eat tomorrow? You're doing the same thing, but you're just plugging it in. All right, if you haven't gotten to this step, if you're new and you're just getting started, don't worry about macros right now. You haven't learned it yet. It can be very overwhelming, but we're going to simplify it for you. But if you are already in this step, we're going to do this. So right before you go to sleep, what am I going to eat tomorrow? Okay, plug it into your phone. Very easy. Add your protein first. All right, so this is just an example. Tomorrow for breakfast, what's going to be my protein? Okay, I'm going to do eggs and I'm going to do some cheese. For lunch, what's going to be my protein? I'm going to do some tofu. For dinner, I'm going to do some tzatziki. I'm going to have a snack, which is going to be a granola bar. And my last meal, I'm going to have a protein powder, my fourth meal. Whatever, how many meals that you have a day. All right, think of those meals. What's going to be my protein for each meal? Open your app. Boom, 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 boom. Plug in your protein first. If you look at your protein and you're pretty close to your protein goal, then everything else that you fill in will help you hit your protein goal. If you're like 50 grams and you're like so far, add an extra egg. Add a little bit more tofu, add another scoop of protein powder, add whatever you need to add, right? But we're always adding your protein first, and then you can fill in the rest. And then it'll look like this. Okay, with my eggs in the morning, I'm actually going to make a wrap. And then with dinner, I'm going to have some quinoa, put some pesto on it, put some arugula, maybe some cauliflower rice. I'm going to have some rice cakes as my pre-workout to pair it with the protein powder, right? So now you're just planning that out. So tomorrow, when you go about your day and you're preparing your meals, or you have them set up and they're already prepped out for you, whatever it is, you don't have to really think about anything. So you're not creating that stress around food. We are hitting our macros. We are making sure that we are eating enough, because a lot of us tend to undereat. So we are making sure that we are never undereating, right? And we create less decision fatigue. We are not making any decisions. You just wake up and you grab everything, or you put everything together. So just to kind of recap a little bit, 5 different methods. Number 1 is cooking for the full week. Number 2, cooking for 3 days out, 3 days at a time. Number 3 is cooking in bulk. 4, cooking double. Whatever you're making for dinner, you're having the same thing for lunch tomorrow, or you're having the same thing for dinner 2 days in a row. And you have the option to outsource. Buy meal prep, get a company that delivers things to your house. And most importantly, never go to sleep without planning tomorrow's meals. You have to eat anyways. Let's make your life a lot easier, and let's make your decisions a lot better when it comes to your food, so that you make sure that you're fueling your body. Okay. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That is going to be the quote of today. And that is basically it for today's lesson. Thank you for listening to that little rant. Remember that food is love and strength is power. And now, real quick, before we hop off, I want us to look at this list. And in the chat, so what is a method that you're either doing for yourself right now or that you need to do? What is your action steps from here? Are you picking one of these methods? And second thing, are you scheduling this out, and when are you scheduling this out? I'll leave this on the screen in the chat. What method are you picking? Put it in there. So for me, I'm cooking my breakfast. I meal prep my lunches for the week, and then I cook my dinner on the day of. Cook in bulk, cook double for tomorrow and the bulk. Okay, so we're mixing the two. I cook in bulk for the week. Awesome. Perfect, perfect. Anybody else, you could drop that in there. Lunch and dinner, entire week, cook bulk, oatmeal for some breakfast. Love that. Consistency too, keeping it super simple. I think cook in bulk for lunch works best, and then double for dinner. Awesome. So I love I kind of like, I think that's totally fine. Try it out. See how it works. If you notice, like, wow, my life was a lot easier this week, that went really well, cool, keep doing it. If you're like, didn't really like that, want to try something a little different, that's fine too. All right, cook breakfast, cook double for lunch, and prep veggies and cook protein. Yes, my prepping the veggies is I forgot about that one. That is a must for me. Plan Friday, buy groceries Saturday, and then cook Sunday has worked really well for me. Yes, making sure that we have that system, and also creating a boundary for that system. Another thing that comes up, if your grocery day is Saturday or your grocery day is Sunday, and your friend texts you that they want to hang out or they want to do something, or somebody wants to, I don't know, anything, make sure that you set that boundary, because this is something that you need to get done. And you cannot show up for other people and hang out with other people if you are not showing up for yourself first. You are first. Once you put yourself first, then we show up to people with a much better energy and we are more present. Do we have any questions on today's lesson? Do you have any questions on any of the styles of meal prep, choosing the ingredients when it comes to cooking, or any roadblocks that you have come into? You can drop it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. No questions. Now, second thing, if you have questions, of course, you can still unmute yourself. Second thing that I wanted to say, if anybody wants to share maybe something that has worked for them that I didn't mention, or something that you found in your experience that, you know, has made you grow in this whole meal prep system, that you would like to share, even more advanced people sharing with newer members, I will open up for that. So anything that has worked well for you, or any growth that you have seen in this journey so far, you can feel free to unmute.
What I do is I like measure out my protein and I put them in like Ziploc bags. So like even if I have like a busy day like for lunch, I'm thinking of dinner. I'm like, all right, so if I want shrimp today, I know that it's already like portioned out. And then I just like season it and then I throw it in, and it's so much easier rather than like sitting there and I'm like, how much am I gonna eat? And so I just pre-portion my protein size already. It's actually what I'm doing right now.
I love that. Do you kind of like choose whatever you're in the mood for, and then you kind of grab one? Or
I typically do salmon, shrimp, and then chicken, and then I like rotate. So like I think last week I ended up doing like 8 ounces of salmon because I told the person at the deli to cut them too big. And I was like, well, and then I just ended up working around it. And then I'll do like 5 ounces of shrimp, which is weird because shrimp is like really light. And then I'll do like 6 ounces of chicken, and then just playing around with what fits.
Okay, cool. I like that. Even with that, I like that you put them in separate bags just so you can grab them and go. You even
Mm-hmm.
put like labels on them for anybody
Yep.
to do it, like labeling like there is 6 ounces of this in here so that you can just quickly just plan it out.
Yeah. Sharpies are your friends.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Anybody
Sure.
else want to share anything?
I'll
Yeah.
share.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
We'll go
No, go
Ashley.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Wait,
I heard
what?
Ashley first, so I'll say Ashley and then we'll go Linda.
Oh, okay. So I've been on it for quite some time, and I definitely believe in the saying where it's if you fail to prep, you prep to fail. Definitely take the time. If you can spend an hour just scrolling through social media, you can spend that hour with prepping. Um, I also like to simplify. I used to have a hard time because of that food freedom. So I used to be like, okay, with protein, I can do tofu, chicken, shrimp, salmon, everything. And I wanted to taste everything and make sure that I don't get tired of the same thing. But what I've learned is you simplify your protein. So, say for like chicken and tofu, then maximize your seasoning. Like you can put any seasoning you won't get the same flavor every time. So, it simplifies your meal plans, but it also makes it easier and it's time efficient. So, that's definitely a pointer that I would like to give out to people.
I love that. I the seasonings, and I'm a sauce girl too. Seasonings and sauces. It's like you're having the same thing every day, but it always tastes different. I love that. It's funny how I feel like it comes full circle when we think of the food freedom because it is that way. Like we start off, we kind of restrict ourselves a little bit, like I can't have this, and then you realize everything that you can have, and you go full force in that, and then you're like, okay, I can have everything. I know I can have everything, but I don't want everything anymore. Cool. So Linda.
So as a teacher, and I'm sorry, if there's any other teachers here, you're like very busy. So, for lunch, breakfast and lunch, I just kind of lean on convenient items. Like I have like a like those pre-made protein shakes, and like one protein waffle for breakfast. Then I do the rest of my day at work, and then my other convenient item that's like in the frozen section is like a field roast breakfast sandwich, and it has like 23 grams of protein. And so I'm always like mindful of like how much protein I'm getting and making sure that I'm hitting the goal, because that's kind of my personal goals. And so then when I get home, the one thing I do have prepped is just like one specific meal, actually one specific protein, and then I just build it up, and it's just a tofu scramble. I make that in bulk, like for one day, and it's good for like the whole week. So like literally the only thing I'm prepping is just putting the frozen sandwiches in my bag, and then when I get home, I just scoop from my container the amount of tofu I'm supposed to have. I get my toast and avocado while the thing's heating up in the microwave, and then that's kind of like every day. And for dinner, I always know that I want something lighter, so I kind of just put together a yogurt thing. I don't really, I like make it the day of, but like the only thing I'm prepping in bulk is just like my tofu, and that's just what works for me. I've just been doing that on repeat this whole entire journey.
Love that. I am a big fan of having like that one like convenient meal too. Like you just mentioned something super quick. I do like a protein shake every day and I love it. I'm a creature of habit though, but like one super simple convenient meal makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share anything? You have any questions before we wrap up? All right. Cool. So last thing before we go, in the chat, one way that you are going to continue to push out of your comfort zone this week. It could be something that you have been working on, or it could be something new that you're going to try. We'll kind of bring it back to the past lessons that we've had, whether it be wearing a certain outfit that maybe we're not so comfortable with. Maybe it's asking for a spot at the gym. What is something that you're either going to take one habit that you've done and compound it and do it again? Or what is something that you're going to do? One thing that you're going to do to push out of your comfort zone. One thing that you're going to do to push out of your comfort zone. Mine is going to be, I'm actually planning out, this is more like a business part of things, but just different content for this weekend. I'm going to an island. I'm trying out different like content that I'm not so comfortable with, but I want to try it out. So we'll see. You guys will see. Continue to walk into rooms confidently because that affects everything. Yes, chin up, energy high. Continue to wear crop tops at the gym. Okay, love that. You had a lot of pushing out of your comfort zone. Anybody else? One way, because if not, you don't put it down, it's not a clear vision. What is something that you are going to do to push out of your comfort zone? I'll give you another minute. If not, I will wait for your message in the group. Continue to speak up on my conference calls. Love that. I hope, and you can let me know if that has gotten easier for you, because I know that you already did it once. By doing one thing once just makes it so much easier. It's my first week in this journey, so filming myself at the gym will definitely, yes, super uncomfortable, 100%. But I like to tell people when they're, especially on their assessment week, just pretend like you do it all the time. Nobody around you knows. Just pretend like this is just what I do. Like, I'm comfortable with this. And in your head, you're like freaking out, but nobody around you knows. Working out in shorts and a sports bra. Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Also, Sharon, I'll add to that. I think almost every single person has been uncomfortable with filming themselves in the gym when it comes to their assessment week. Even myself, when the first time that I had to film myself talking in the gym with my tripod, most awkward thing ever, but it starts to feel better over time. Working on confidently asking the gym bros for a spot. Yes. And explain to the gym bros how to spot you. Amazing. Okay, cool. So this week, that'll be your homework. Anything that you just put in there, make sure that we are actually implementing it. I think Christine also said that she was going to go on a date tomorrow by herself and take herself out to dinner, which was super cool. So if she sees this recording, you are being held accountable. But for this here, whenever you do it, post it in the chat so that you can hold yourself accountable, because I always remember what you guys say and I know who's doing it and who is not. And also you are inspiring somebody else to push out of their comfort zone as well. So let us know how it went for you. And yeah, we'll go from there. So thank you all for being on this call today. I appreciate you. Remember, food is love, strength is power. Have a beautiful day and the beautiful rest of your week. So no call next week, by the way. I will be away. I posted it in the group. Everything else will be as planned. I will post announcements in the group as well. Bye.